In a bitterly divided election, 70 to 30%. In Southlake, Texas, opponents of anti-racism education or indoctrination win big. Candidates who opposed a local school diversity plan took about 70% of the vote in the wealthy Dallas-Fort Worth suburb. This is very important. The only reason these social terrorists have been able to get as much power as they have is because they rely on most people not really caring about what their local governments do and all that. Because for the most part, let's be honest, your local government doesn't affect you that much. Unless you're in one of the rare few who, like, maybe your workplace, maybe you're a business owner in downtown or something. Unless you're one of the rare few who actually gets affected by some of these policies, most of us, like if we live on the outskirts of town, what these politicians do rarely affects us. And that's a mistake. These social terrorists were able to get into power because the general population is just ignorant. They don't even know what's going on. Most parents, up until the pandemic happened, had no idea the bullshit their kids were being indoctrinated in. They just trusted the system. If we want to turn the tide in the culture war, we're going to have to do what the other side does. We're going to have to start community organizing. Start actually caring what's going on in your local community. Start voting. It's time to wake the silent majority up. What's going to happen when the silent majority actually starts voting? That's when you get stuff like this. 70% of the seats, 70% of the vote. Last year, I can guarantee you none of the people who voted in I believe these are like school district elections, none of these people cared until they found out, thanks to kids taking classes at home, exactly the bullshit their kids were being indoctrinated with. Now that parents finally care, suddenly they're able to replace all the clowns. We can drain the swamp. Now, while this article, before I get into it, while it's funny that these losers are reporting one of their own L's right now, the bias is just dripping from this article. 9 months after officials in the affluent Carroll Independent School District introduced a proposal to combat racial and cultural intolerance in schools by being racially and culturally intolerant, voters delivered a resounding victory Saturday to a slate of school board and city council candidates who opposed the plan. Keep this going. If you see that these woke lunatics have infected your city council, organize your neighbors and get them out. There's way more of us than there is of them. Remember, even during the Burn Loot Murder riots, the violent rioters had to be bussed in from out of state sometimes. Like, remember those videos of the convoys of violent rioters harassing peaceful suburban communities as they drove through? The reason they have to be bussed around is because there's not enough of them for a grassroots movement. This is all optics. They're trying to make it look like there's way more of them than there are. Now, in an unusually bitter campaign that echoed a growing national divide over how to address issues of race, gender, and sexuality in schools, yeah, people have had enough of you race hustlers, and they're finally putting their foot down. Candidates in the city of Southlake were split between two camps. Those who supported the new diversity and inclusion training requirements for Carroll students and teachers, and this is the important part. This is where the bias kicks in. So when they're talking about their side, those who supported the new diversity and inclusion training, and then the other side, and those backed by a political action committee that was formed last year to defeat the plan. So you guys aren't even going to mention that your side has been puppets of activist groups for decades? That you manufacture, you fucking AstroTurf grassroots movements? You have these organizations bussing in out-of-state rioters to make it look like there's more of you than there really are? You're just going to gloss over that? But when the other side starts doing the same thing you are, and they start organizing, now suddenly it's a bad thing? And this was a landslide victory for the good guys, by the way. 70-30. More than double. And that number is only going to grow. On one side, regressives argued that curriculum and disciplinary changes were needed to make all children feel safe and welcome in Carroll, a mostly white but quickly diversifying school district. That's a blatant lie. All of the stuff they're pushing is specifically designed to make specifically white men as uncomfortable as possible. And when you point that out, they just say, oh, yeah, that's equity. Nah, no, thank you. On the other, normal people in Southlake rejected the school diversity plan as an effort to indoctrinate students with far-left ideology that, according to anyone with a brain, would institutionalize discrimination against white children and those with conservative Christian values. Well, congratulations! The dickless right-wing cucks are finally catching on. If only you'd listened years ago, you could have prevented this from happening. Candidates and voters on both sides described the election as a fork in the road for Southlake, a wealthy suburb 30 miles northwest of Dallas. So goes Southlake, a local conservative commentator warned in the weeks leading up to the election. So goes the rest of America. Yeah, they think way too highly of themselves, but I hope it's true. I hope that thanks to the regressive lunatics destroying everything, it woke up enough normies that it might actually make a difference. But something tells me it's not going to happen. I mean, we saw what happened in November in the rest of America. No, in the end, the contest was not close. Candidates backed by the normal people, which raised more than $200,000 since last summer, won every race by about 70% to 30%, including those for 2 school board positions, 2 city council seats, and mayor. More than 9,000 voters cast ballots, 3 times as many as in similar contests in the past. Yeah, looks like after the shenanigans last November, people are finally waking the fuck up. Good. Hannah Smith, a prominent Southlake lawyer who clerked for the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, defeated Ed Hernandez, a business consultant, to win a seat on the Carroll School Board. In a statement to Nothing But Crap News on Sunday, Smith, who is white, of course you have to say that, don't you? So she must be the bad guy because she's white. Said the election was a referendum on those who put personal politics and divisive philosophies ahead of the Carroll ISD students and families and their common American heritage and Texas values. Yep. And guess what? If you fucking Californians don't like it, I mean, can we have another referendum to deport all the Californians back to California? The voters have come together in record-breaking numbers to restore unity, Smith said. By a landslide vote, they don't want racially divisive critical race theory taught to their children or forced on their teachers. Voters agreed with my positive vision for our community and its future. She's not wrong. Hernandez and other candidates running in support of the new brainwashing programs said they were not particularly surprised by the outcome in a historically conservative city where about 2/3 of the voters backed President Donald Trump, but they were dismayed by the margin of their defeat. So this is what breaking the echo chamber does. This is what breaking the wall of the safe space accomplishes. These lunatics live in echo chambers where anyone who disagrees with them gets banned. So they only ever hear people affirming their opinions. It's a circle jerk. And then they get out into the real world and realize that not only are they a minority, but everyone fucking hates them. Hernandez, an immigrant from Mexico, says he worries about the signal the outcome sends to dozens of Carroll High School students and recent graduates who came forward with stories about racist and anti-gay bullying over the past 2 years. And how many of them were actually true? Because every single time a hate crime makes it to the news, it always ends up being a hoax. It really makes you wonder. Like this time, whenever I hear about hate crimes, I just assume it's a hoax. This is what you fuckers have done. I'm sure there's real hate crimes happening out there, but thanks to all the constant lying and hoaxes, there's only so much you can cry wolf. To demonstrate the need for change, members of the student-led Southlake Anti-Racism Coalition collected more than 300 accounts from current and former Carroll students last year who said they have been mistreated because of their race, religion, or sexual orientation. I would love for the Republicans to find their fucking balls and do this right back at them. Go talk to the white Christians and talk about how they were treated in these diversity classes. I'm sure you're going to be getting tens of thousands of accounts. Now, I don't want to think about all these kids that shared their stories, their testimonies. Hernandez said, growing emotional Saturday moments before having learned their election results. Yeah, see, this is what they always do. When they don't get their way, if logic doesn't work, then appeals to emotion are all they have. And when they get blown the fuck out, they cry like the bitches they are. So I don't want to think about that right now because it's really, really hard for me. I feel really, really bad for all these kids. Every single one of them that shared a story. I don't have any words for them. How about you apologize to those kids for you using them as political fucking tools? How about you apologize? The fight in Southlake dates to the fall of current year -3, where a video of a white Carroll High School students chanting the N-word went viral. Oh, such a fucking crime. They said a word. Oh my God. That is literally the same as lynching. They said a word. Making national headlines. Like in the aftermath, school leaders hosted listening sessions with students and parents and appointed a committee of 63 community volunteers to come up with a plan to make Carroll more welcoming for students from diverse backgrounds. Oh my God, thank God they're finally fighting back against this shit. The effort was in part a recognition of the changing demographics. Southlake's population has tripled to more than 31,000 over the past 3 decades, driven in part by immigrants from South Asia drawn to the area by high-paying jobs and highly ranked schools. That's why, despite all the immigration, they stayed conservative. So black residents make up less than 2% of the population in a city where the median household income is more than $230,000, and 74% of the residents are white. The result of the school diversity committee's work, a 34-page document called the Cultural Competency Action Plan, was released last summer in the midst of a pandemic, a heated presidential election, and a broader national reckoning over racism following the Minecrafting of George Floyd. That's the excuse they used for all the violent rioting anyway. The plan called for a mandatory cultural sensitivity training for all Carroll students and teachers. Oh, God. I mean, that may be another one of my red flags. Like, I'll probably just quit the job immediately if they expect me to do that shit. A formal process to report and track incidents of racist bullying and changes to the COC to hold students accountable for acts of discrimination. I'd be fine with that if it was enforced evenly. So the proposal also suggested creating a position of Director of Equity and Inclusion to oversee the district's efforts. This last part, that was the real reason. That was the real point of this whole thing. To put another worthless bloat bureaucrat in a high-paying position, leeching hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer fucking money. That's all this is about. The bloat perpetuating itself. The plan was met with swift and fierce opposition. For months, conservative parents, normal people, packed school board meetings decrying aspects of the proposal that said they have created diversity police and amounted to reverse racism. Now, guys, stop using reverse racism as an argument. There is no such thing. It's only racism. Hit these fuckers over the head with that. It's like, oh no, I'm not saying you're reverse racist. I'm saying you're a full-blown fucking racist. So members of the Southlake Families Political Action Committee, which was formed within days of the plan's release, took particular issue with the district proposal to track incidents of microaggressions, subtle, indirect, and sometimes unintentional incidents of discrimination. Do it both ways and I'll be fine with it. Something tells me it's not going to happen, though. At the board meeting, a white father said he supported introducing children to different cultures, but argued that the district's plan would instead teach students how to be a victim and force them to adopt a liberal ideology, which is 100% true. Several parents said the plan would infringe on their Christian values by teaching children about issues affecting gay and transgender classmates. Others warned that the board had awakened Southlake's silent majority. Wow. For once, that's actually true. The vast majority of the time when I see silent majority get thrown around, it's in the context of, it's like, oh yeah, we're worthless, but we're on your side. Imagine you're at school, since we're talking about schools and all, and some bully is whooping your ass, and there's 100 people just standing there and watching, but don't worry, they're all on your side. The silent majority supports you. Yeah, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to watch as you get your ass beat, but they're on your side. You can feel good about that at least. That's most silent majority stories. Like, seriously, fuck the silent majority. They're worthless. They don't matter. They don't do anything. But as these guys showed, if you legit have the silent majority on your side, then force the problem into their lap. Make the problem their problem. Then they may actually do something about it. I mean, that's what's happening right here. Now that they realized that their kids are going to be indoctrinated into this bullshit, now suddenly they care enough to do something. Southlake Family's PAC backed a mother's lawsuit against the district and in December won a temporary restraining order that put the diversity plan on hold. Then last month, 2 members of the school board who had supported the plan were indicted by a Tarrant County grand jury, which accused them of having violated Texas open meetings law, a misdemeanor after opponents of the diversity plan obtained texts showing the members had messaged one another before they voted on it. Yeah, use their own bullshit against them. Use administrative violence to its fullest effect. Do exactly what they do. Dude, they've been showing us how to do things for years. It's just our side has lacked the balls to do it. The issue became the defining theme of Southlake's typically low-key municipal elections this spring, dividing neighbors and former friends. The Tarrant County Democratic Party briefly posted and then deleted an image on social media labeling all the candidates who opposed the diversity plan as racist. That's why you are former friends. And this is why I say, like, these, especially these guys who still have TDS, just cut them out of your life. They're worthless. You gain nothing by associating with them. Southlake Family's PAC, meanwhile, sent out mailers accusing the pro-diversity plan candidates for pushing for a radical socialism in Southlake. Because it's true. The acrimony landed the city in a national spotlight ahead of Election Day, with a flurry of stories appearing on right-wing news sites describing the contest as a test for bigger national fight over indoctrination programs in schools. This is happening everywhere. Fox News host Tucker Carlson said in a segment Tuesday about Carroll's diversity plan and resulting blowback, they'll come in, they'll wreck your school, they'll hurt your children, they'll take your money, they'll bully you, and no one does anything. I'm just grateful to hear parents who are finally doing something. Yeah, I'm with Tucker on this. Because so many conservatives in particular, they talk mad shit. It's like, oh, if you mess with my family, if you mess with my kids, that's where I draw the line. And then they mess with their kids and they do nothing. And then they wonder why no one takes them seriously. But yeah, this is good. This needs to happen. This, if we're lucky, this is just the start of the pendulum swinging back the other way. And just remember who these people were and how they acted when they believed they had all the power, when they believed they were on the right side of history. Remember what they did. Remember how they treated you. And I'm not going to say treat them the same because they're not worth it. I'm saying completely cut them out. Cut them out of your life. Ignore them. Don't go after them. Don't go trying to get revenge. It'll be enough to just ostracize them, to just ignore them. Don't let them into any of the new stuff you make. A steady stream of Southlake voters headed to cast ballots in at Town Hall on Saturday. Many described the vote's significance. It's a great town, a Whammons shouted over her shoulder after declining to speak to reporters. I want to keep it that way. Now, that's a smart woman right there. Do not talk to the legacy media. Like, shit. Okay. You want to have the perfect fucking example of why you shouldn't talk to these fuckers? So I was watching one of Terrence Pop's streams that Karen Strawn was on, and she was talking about a story that she was telling. She was at the first conference on men's issues in Chicago, And there was mainstream media reporters there constantly bugging people, and she made the mistake of actually talking to one of them because they just happened to sit at the same table for dinner, right? And so if I'm remembering all this correct, so Terrence Popp left the video up. You could watch it yourself in case I may have misremembered something. But she was basically telling two stories. So one, she was telling the story about how a male friend of hers was getting completely fucked over by the divorce courts. And was like, feeling suicidal, was going to lose access to his kids and all that, like just all that bullshit. And she was tearing up and almost crying while telling that story. I think she did cry. And then in a separate part of the story, like minutes later, when they pulled the whole like all the bullshit, like, oh, but what about must survivors shit? She said that she herself was a victim of sexual assault, and then the media cut the interview up of her talking about how she was a victim of sexual assault, and then they cut in her crying. Don't talk to these fucking snakes. These lying, fake news spreading motherfuckers, they will edit everything you say and make you look as bad as possible. Like, that's what they did to your boy Zach. That was one of his biggest. So he had an opportunity to go on Joe Rogan. He was invited to go on, was it the Joe Rogan Experience, when Rogan was still on YouTube? He didn't go on Joe Rogan's show. Instead, he went on Jim Jeffries' show. And they got him that same way. They deceptively edited all the questions and answers to make him look as bad as possible. This is why you don't talk to the media. A lot of cucks will come out and say, like, oh, but you have to get your side of the story out to their odd. Shut the fuck up, you fucking idiot. It doesn't work that way. Unless it's live on air and unedited, that's not what's going to happen. Yeah, you're going to get your side of the story out to whoever the urinalist you're talking to is, and then they will deceptively edit everything you said to make it look like the reverse of that. They will use your own words in the most deceptive way possible to attack you. If you're so fucking stupid you voluntarily talk to them knowing that, you deserve to have your reputation thrown in the fucking shitter. Jason Rudman, a white father of two who voted for the conservative slate of candidates, said he was disappointed by the political discourse in town. Yeah, see, what's happening in this town is what happens to all of our hobbies. Every last one of them. So we have a good thing going. Everyone's having fun. And then these fuckers show up and ruin everything and make it toxic and then complain about how it's toxic. This is why you need to gatekeep. What's more important to me is that we have dialogue, said Rudman, whose children attend private school. I don't feel like we're at a place right now where either side is talking to the other. I feel like people are lobbing grenades back and forth. And to me, that's the most important thing that needs to be dealt with. I'm not willing to talk to anyone who's not willing to talk to me. If your first reaction to hearing me say something is to call me a racist, there's no point in talking to you. The only way these people are ever going to learn is if we drive home the point that they are not on the right side of history and blacklist them from everything. We got to gatekeep. The only reason we're so screwed right now is because we didn't gatekeep these fuckers out. If we'd done the job years ago, this wouldn't have been a problem. At the Cambria Hotel, where pro-indoctrination and brainwashing planned candidates and their supporters gathered Saturday, the election results party turned somber shortly after 7 p.m. as news of the outcome swept through the room. Yeah, I remember that at the 2016 election. Yeah, remember Hitler's victory party? Oh, man. In the race for mayor, conservative John Huffman won 71% of the vote to defeat Deborah Edmondson. Huffman, who criticized the indoctrination and brainwashing plan while serving on the South Lake City Council, did not respond to a message requesting comment. Good. This is nothing but crap news. Like, dude, do not talk to them. Like say if Veritas wanted to talk to me, I'd talk to them. But any of these legacy fake news organizations that I know are against me and they will deceptively edit everything I say, I'm just going to ignore them. I'm not even going to respond to them. If at any point in the future I got messages from them saying they want to talk, I'll just ignore them. Fucking blacklist their entire domains. Put them on my spam filter where they belong. Jennifer Ho, a white mother, of course, of two Carroll students who campaigned in support of the brainwashing proposal, said she was angry and heartbroken. Go back to California then, because it feels like hate wins, Howe said. And like I said, we'll get mad and then we'll regroup and we'll figure out where we go now. Go back to California. That's where you should go. The town is changing. More people are moving in, so it's not going to be like this forever. Did she just low-key admit that she's relying on more Californians showing up to tip the scales in their favor? Meanwhile, student members from South Lake Anti-Racism Coalition, which was organized last year to demand changes at Carroll, said they were upset by the results but determined to keep pushing for change. Oh, man. Someone should just tell these kids to sit down and shut the fuck up. I'm not surprised, but I'm disturbed, said Nikki Olalier, a black 12th grade student at Carroll Senior High School, who has been an outspoken critic of the school's handling of racist and anti-gay bullying. I don't think this is the time to be throwing a pity party. We are just ready to keep moving forward and doing what we can using our voices. I wouldn't be surprised because usually these people who say shit like that, using their voices, they're going to be out using Molotov cocktails. That's what's going on here. Let's see what this. I really do hope that this really is a sign of things to come. I hope that the silent majority stops being a bunch of useless, dickless cucks and actually starts doing something. I hope so. I have a lot of doubts, but I hope so. Let's get history back on the right track. They'll love that. Oh, that should be our fucking tagline. That should be our slogan. Getting history back on the right track. Ooh, they're gonna. Oh my God. They would fucking flip their shit. But I don't care. Fuck them. They've made it clear they're not willing to talk. So fine. We're not going to talk to you. We're just going to utterly crush you. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.